It wasn't because I couldn't afford the membership, but rather because the full version offered a better value. A masterpiece by Ryan, always a quality product. Like it before you read. Make it a habit. Now, let's dive into the story. I spent 10 years developing the Liu Corporation from the brink of bankruptcy to being listed on the stock market. On the day we rang the bell, Liu Ryan publicly announced that her wife Moonlight would take on the role of general manager, while I worked overtime, pushing myself to the point of hospitalization. She was busy caring for him, who had twisted his ankle playing tennis. She stayed out all night, and my heart turned cold. Finally, I gave up, but she begged me, "Don't leave. I can't live without you." You can't live? Then just don't live. At the celebratory banquet, Liu Ryan publicly announced the hiring of Zijibo as the company's general manager, with an annual salary of 1 million. In an instant, all eyes turned to me with a hint of amusement. Everyone in the industry knew that I was Liu Ryan's boyfriend. From a consulting firm on the verge of bankruptcy to a company listed on the market, I poured my heart and soul into it. From market expansion to project planning, I handled everything personally. As for Liu Ryan, all she needed to do was sit high above and be the chairman. But now, out of nowhere, a new general manager was brought in to take my place, which was a blatant slap in my face. Unlike others, Liu Ryan didn't even notice my embarrassment. Her eyes were fixated on Zijibo. She held his arm and accompanied him as he mingled, introducing him to the influential figures in the circle. And from time to time, she would look up and smile at him, her eyes filled with shyness and admiration. Just like in the old days, the atmosphere at the banquet was suffocating. I took a glass of red wine and walked out to the balcony. Drinking too quickly, the sour liquid slid down my throat, making me cough. Ji Bacheng, are you okay? I looked up. The person speaking to me was Chushi, the eldest daughter of the wealthiest family, the Chu family. I put down the glass in my hand. "I'm fine, TSK," still pretending to be tough. Chushi plopped down next to me. "People are walking all over you. It's none of your business. As long as Ryan is willing, I can endure anything. Consider this. Come to the Chu Corporation." "Not while the old man is still alive." "I'm not going." Chushi leaned closer, staring at me. They're rekindling their old romance, being lovey-dovey all day long. And you're just standing by and watching? Liu Ryan is my girlfriend. I'll take care of her. There's no need for you to worry. TSK. Still talking tough. I just don't get it. What's so great about Liu Ryan? Her looks, her temperament, her family background, her abilities. None of them match up to you. Yet you still indulge her like this. Do you have a masochistic tendency? I clenched my fist. Say one more word, and I won't be polite. Alright, I won't say anything more. Your temper is just as bad as when you were a kid. Chushi refilled both our glasses with red wine, handing one to me. "Come on, have a drink with me." I took the glass, clinked it lightly against hers, and drank it down. Ji Bacheng, since when did you get so close to Chushi? There was a hint of jealousy in the voice. I turned around to see Liu Ryan, arm in arm with Zijibo, standing not far behind us. Chushi raised an eyebrow. "Liu Ryan, if you can't put Ji Bacheng to good use, don't blame the Chu Corporation for stepping in." After saying that, she let out a sneer and turned to leave. Liu Ryan watched her back and asked discontentedly, "What does she mean by that? Does she want to lure you over to Chu Corporation?" "It's just idle talk." I didn't want to say much. "I know you wouldn't go. At most, she offer you a department manager position. But at Liu Corporation, you're already a deputy general manager. A deputy demoted from general manager." I was at a loss for words. Zijibo smiled at me gently. "Ji Bacheng, from now on, we'll be colleagues. After I take office, I'll need your guidance." I replied calmly, "There's no need. I'm not accustomed to assisting others. I know you took my place. You're not happy about it. Jibo looked at me apologetically. In truth, I didn't want this either. But Ryan said the company was on a mission and was in need of high-end talent. She persuaded me again and again. It was hard to refuse. High-end talent? I couldn't hold back. Which major companies abroad has Mr. Z worked for this past year? The gentle demeanor of Jibo started to crack a little. Botching. I worked so hard to bring Jibo back. Can't you stop causing trouble? Ryan snapped at me. Look around. Do you really want to go against Jibo? I've kept you in that position for 10 years. It's time for someone else to have a turn. Jibo has a master's degree from abroad. It wouldn't be a disgrace for you to be his deputy. Ryan, if you say the word, I can step down as general manager, but becoming a deputy, that won't be necessary. It's already miserable enough to work for someone else's benefit. I don't want to be a sycophant anymore. Since you and Ryan are about to get married, I might as well leave the company and enjoy some time in a domestic life. Jibo interjected. But, Bacheng, I just returned. I'm still unfamiliar with the business. If you let go so abruptly, I fear it might cause losses for Ryan's company. Jibo, you really do have my best interests at heart. She smiled tenderly at him, and a heavy weight settled in my chest. 10 years of being together. She was always spoiled and willful with me. I thought that was just her nature, but I never imagined it was selective. Bacheng, you must take on this deputy role. Within 3 months, you're to hand over all your business and resources to Jibo. Ryan, No! Ryan cut me off, her voice filled with frustration. If you keep making a fuss, I'll take Awa back from you. I don't want it staying with a petty man. Fine. Jibo looked at me, his eyes brimming with triumph. Ryan knew how to control me. 10 years of our relationship, I've always bent to her will. Whenever I tried to stand my ground, all she had to do was mention Awa, and I would give in. Awa was a cat Ryan gave me when she was little. When I was 10 years old, my parents divorced. My mother left with nothing, taking me with her. From being the pride of the heavens, I fell to a nobody. Classmates ridiculed and mocked me in every way. Only Ryan said nothing, secretly slipping a kitten into my school bag. It was a newborn kitten. Its fur was patchy, and it was a bit dirty, but it became my only companion for many years to come. Right now, Awa was curled up in my arms. It was already an 18-year-old cat, equivalent to a person in their 80s or 90s. I cherished the remaining time I had with it. As long as I was home, in the early mornings, Awa would cling to me, but was distant from Ryan. Ryan didn't like it either. She would snatch it from my arms and toss it onto the carpet. I would bend down to stroke Awa, letting it play off to the side. Ryan, we agreed that after the company went public, we would start planning the wedding. When do you think we should set the date? Ryan's expression turned uneasy. There's still a lot that needs to be prepared. Let's wait a bit longer. You just need to pick out your wedding dress and gown. Leave the rest to me. All you ever think about is getting married. Ryan paced back and forth in the room, frustrated. Can't you think about me for a moment? Jibo just got back. There are still 2 big projects halfway through. How can I possibly think about getting married right now? Don't worry, I'll help him finish those 2 projects. I placed my hands on her shoulders, trying to calm her. Let's have dinner together tonight. I made your favorite squirrel-shaped mandarin fish. Ryan brushed my hands off. I have a meeting with Jibo and a client. You can eat by yourself. In the following half month, I worked overtime with the planning department until midnight every day. On one hand, the client's timeline was tight. On the other, the proposals kept getting revised. Ever since Jibo took office, every planning proposal had to be approved by him. After each submission, he would always send them back. The proposal isn't good enough. Take it back and redo it. We revised it version after version. but it was never approved. When asked what was wrong with it, he wouldn't say. Finally, Manager Chen of the planning department grew anxious. This is something Ji led the team to create after several sleepless nights. We've really done our best. Z Jibo, just doing your best isn't enough. I want perfection. Mr. Z, tell us what's wrong. We'll make adjustments according to your requirements. You've all been working for so many years, and yet you can't even see what the problems are. How did you manage before? Zijibo's gaze swept across everyone, finally landing on me. Manager Chen's face turned red with anger. The planning proposals Liu Corporation has made over the years have always been well received by our clients. Zijibo's face darkened. So you're saying I lack judgment? Manager Chen remained silent, but his silence spoke volumes. If you think I'm incompetent, then you shouldn't be working under me. Go to the accounting department and collect your paycheck. You don't need to come in tomorrow. What do you mean? I've worked at Liu Corporation for so long and never made a mistake. What gives you the right to fire me? As the acting general manager, I have the authority to fire anyone I wish. At that moment, Liu Ryan walked in from outside. What's all this commotion? I could hear it from far away. Ryan, you've come at the right time. Z Jibel looked despondent. I don't think I'm suited for this general manager position. I should probably leave. Liu Ryan glanced at everyone. Jibo, what's going on? Manager Chen and the others are people Ji has been working with. I don't have the ability to manage them. Sorry to disappoint you. With just one sentence. He shifted all the blame onto me. Ji Bacheng. Are you giving Jibo a hard time again? Liu Ryan glared at me. I replied, Manager Chen and his team have come up with several versions of the planning proposal, but none were approved by Mr. Z. We just wanted to know what exactly was wrong. That's irrelevant. I'm just striving for perfection. I strive to perfect every proposal, to bring the company the greatest benefits. Ryan, is there anything wrong with what I'm doing? You're doing great. Liu Ryan patted Zijibo, reassuring him, you always have my best interests at heart. Manager Chen disobeyed orders and publicly challenged me, undermining the company's unity. I had no choice but to make an example of him. All right, without a second thought, Liu Ryan said, Chenju, you don't need to come in tomorrow. I pleaded. Ryan, this has nothing to do with Manager Chen. It's my fault. Before I could finish, Liu Ryan coldly cut me off. He dared to confront Jibo because he thought he had your backing. Let me make this clear today. This company is mine. And if I appoint Jibo as the general manager, he's everyone's superior. What he says represents my intentions. Anyone who disobeys, Jibo has the authority to fire them. This applies to everyone in the company. By the time she finished her last sentence, Liu Ryan's gaze was fixed on me. She was making it clear to everyone. No one could defy Zijibo, not even me. In the end, Manager Chen was dismissed by Zijibo. He wasn't even allowed to resign voluntarily. Chen Zhuo had worked with me for 5 years, capable and loyal. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. The day he left, I dialed Chuji's number. I have a very capable assistant who's just resigned. Do you need someone like that? Anyone you recommend must be excellent. Have him report to HR tomorrow. After hanging up, I turned to Chen Zhuo and said, if you're willing, take my business card to the Chu Corporation tomorrow. They'll arrange a suitable position for you. Thank you, Jinayan. Chen Zhuo's frustration instantly turned into surprise. After all, Chu Corporation is a commercial giant. The opportunity to enter such a large company is indeed rare. Before leaving, Chen Zhuo repeatedly reminded me to be cautious. Nowadays, Liu Corporation is like the decadent city of Kaoj in the investiture of the gods. Liu Ryan has been blinded by Zijibo, and as the rightful lady, you must be careful. After sending Chen Jewel off, a dull pain emerged in my lower right abdomen. In those early years of entrepreneurship, I often stayed up late. Combined with irregular eating habits, I developed chronic appendicitis. These past few days, due to exhaustion and anger, it flared up again. I was about to take some medicine when someone from the planning department came in, asking me how to revise the proposal. Reprint a new copy with a Roman font. Will this do? Do as I say. I'll take responsibility if anything goes wrong. Jushin nodded and submitted the revised plan again. But once more, Jibo rejected it, stating, "It's still not perfect. Print another one for him." A week later, my gums began to hurt. Everyone had been busy these past days and were exhausted. I sent them home to rest and finished the final tasks alone. These days of sleepless nights had taken a toll on me, and the pain in my lower right abdomen had persisted. Tonight, it was getting worse. I took out some medicine and swallowed it, thinking I should visit the hospital tomorrow. Half an hour passed, but the pain didn't subside at all. On the contrary, it worsened to the point where I couldn't stand straight. Clutching my stomach, I realized I couldn't endure this any longer. It was already past 11 at night, and all my colleagues had left the office. I dialed Liu Ryan's number. "Ryan, where are you? Can you come pick me up?" She seemed to be outside. I could hear the sound of the wind howling. "What's going on? You're a grown man and you need me to pick you up. I'm not feeling well." As I spoke, sweat was already forming on my forehead. "Where are you now?" Just as she finished speaking, I heard an ouch from her side of the line. "It's him. Let me see." Her voice was filled with urgency. "It seems like my ankle is twisted." It was Jibo. "Oh no, FTPI. I'm not sure. It hurts so much. I can't. I'm taking you to the hospital right now." Liu Ryan hung up the phone in a hurry, completely forgetting about me on the other end, who was in unbearable pain. The pain in my abdomen was excruciating. So I dialed Chuji's number. She rushed over and drove me to the hospital. After the emergency doctor examined me, he said I had an acute appendicitis attack and needed surgery. Chuji complained, "You're an adult, and you still don't know how to take care of yourself." Despite her words, she ran back and forth, helping me pay the fees and handle the admission procedures. I lay alone in a corner, trying to distract myself from the pain, mindlessly scrolling through my social media feed. 10 minutes ago, Jibo had just posted a set of pictures. Liu Ryan was talking to a doctor, feeding him porridge, smiling at him, and placing his bandaged ankle on her lap. The caption read, "Having someone care for you is truly a blessing." My heart wrenched in pain. We had been together for 10 years. I had always been obedient to her, gave her everything I had, loved her, took care of her, protected her, as if it were a responsibility flowing through my veins. I never expected to receive anything in return from her. But at this moment, her concerned gaze, her playful smile, made me suddenly realize she had never smiled at me like that. The way she looked at me had never held any love. "What's the matter? Are you jealous?" I didn't realize when Chushi returned to my side. During this time, those two have been showing up together everywhere. I thought you'd be used to it by now. Cold sweat dripped from my forehead. "I don't know. I thought you were willing to be a ninja turtle for that little favor from years ago." A few nurses came over and wheeled me into surgery. Chushi held my hand, walking with me all the way to the operating room doors. "Don't be afraid. Sis will be waiting outside for you until you come out. After the surgery, I want some seafood porridge." "Sure, I'll have someone make the king crabs right now." The pain made me grimace, but a smile still tugged at my lips. Thank goodness, I have someone who loves me. Because I had to pass gas after the surgery, it wasn't until the third day that I finally got to eat the seafood porridge. Unfortunately, a few king crabs had to be sacrificed in vain in those first 2 days. These past few days, She stayed with me in the hospital, even taking time to go to my house to feed Awa. She postponed every task she could, and for urgent documents, she had her secretary bring them to the hospital room to handle. Once I felt a bit better, I turned on my phone and was flooded with hundreds of missed calls and messages before I could even reply. A call came through. Ji Bacheng, where are you? Why haven't you returned my calls? She demanded. I just had an appendectomy. I'm still in the hospital. Is that so? She seemed slightly relieved. When will you be discharged? The client is pushing. They're in a hurry to get the planning documents. I haven't recovered yet. The doctor advised me to stay for observation for a week. I uncharacteristically showed weakness in front of her. You're just lying in the hospital anyway. I'll have someone bring your laptop so you can get it done as soon as possible. Okay. As I put down the phone, I couldn't help but feel disappointed. These past few days lying in bed, I kept trying to convince myself. She chose to accompany Zijibo to the hospital that day, instead of coming to me, because she didn't know I was sick and needed care. If she knew I was hospitalized, she would surely have cared for me the way she did for him. But reality has a way of slapping you in the face. There was no concern, no companionship. All I got was a laptop. Liu Ryan came with Zijibo. Look, Jibo cares so much about you. Even with an injured foot, he made a special trip to see you. Jibo smiled at her. With you taking care of me these past few days, I'm feeling much better. He's here to twist the knife in my heart, isn't he? I didn't want to watch their performance in front of me, so I signaled to leave the laptop and go. Ji Bacheng, you need to hurry. Otherwise, Jibo will have a hard time explaining to the client. My boyfriend is lying in a hospital bed, and she doesn't even ask how I'm doing. She's only thinking about work. After 10 years together, this is the first time I've seen her care so much about her job. I couldn't hold back, and my tone turned sharp. Liu Ryan froze for a moment. Isn't appendicitis just a minor illness? I thought you've always been in good health, so it shouldn't be a big deal. She paused. What would you like to eat? I'll bring it over tonight. With those words, my heart softened again. Never mind. You go ahead and work. I have a nurse here. Then I remembered something. By the way, can you take some time in the next few days to feed Awa? At night, my friends helped feed Awa the last couple of days, but they're busy too, so I don't want to keep bothering them. Alright, I understand, Liu Ryan complained. No matter what happens, you always have that cat on your mind. It's just a cat. That was the first gift you ever gave me. Of course, it's precious to me. Liu Ryan's expression turned slightly awkward. She said there was something at the company and left with Zijibo. As I lay in bed, a strange sadness crept into my heart. How insecure am I in this relationship that I've resorted to using a cat to show off in front of a rival? Just as I was lost in thought, Zijibo returned. Is there something else? I asked. He stood there, a smirk playing on his lips. Ji Bacheng, that cat you were talking about, is it the one Ryan gave you when she was little? Yes. It's practically our token of affection. He seemed to find this the funniest joke in the world. That cat wasn't a gift at all. It was just a stray she picked up off the street. Who would have thought you'd be so attached to it? That's impossible. I suddenly sat up in bed. Don't think you can drive a wedge between Ryan and me. She told me herself. When your parents divorced, many of your classmates bullied you. Ryan found a newborn stray cat on the roadside, stuffed it into your school bag, then went and told the teacher that you brought a pet to school. Think back. Didn't the teacher reprimand you afterward? Seeing me speechless, his smirk grew wider. What you see as a touching gesture of kindness in a time of need was nothing more than a cruel prank to others. So, stop holding on to this one-sided affection. Liu Ryan never liked you. She only used you as a backup to fill her emptiness. Now, I'm back. so you should leave. But I must thank you for managing Liu Corporation so well and handing it over to me. Ha ha ha. Zijibo left, but his words kept echoing in my mind. Awa wasn't a gift from Liu Ryan. It was just a prank she played on me. Even now, I can clearly remember when the teacher opened my bag and pulled out Awa. Liu Ryan smiled at me. At the time, I thought it was a gesture of encouragement, but it was actually the smile of someone who had succeeded in their scheme. The memory made my resolve crumble instantly. All along, I had been deluding myself. On the day I was discharged, Chushi dropped me off downstairs. She had something to do, so she left first. As I opened the door, a sudden sense of foreboding washed over me. Usually, when I came home from work, Awa would hear the sound and wait for me by the door. Awa! I called out a few times, but there was no response. I walked inside and found her in a corner behind the sofa. She was lying there stiff and still, already cold. The bowls for her food and water were both empty. Liu Ryan hadn't come to feed her. Awa had starved to death. I held on, my body shaking uncontrollably. The once warm and lively little companion was now lying in my arms, stiff and cold. I found a beautiful cartoon box and placed Awa inside, along with her favorite toy and her food bowl. Under a tree in the nearby park, I dug a deep hole and buried her with my own hands. Awa, after accompanying me for 18 years, was finally gone. She had witnessed my gratitude, longing, and deep love for Liu Ryan. With her passing, the last thread that tied me to Liu Ryan was severed. The next day, I went to the office and handed in my resignation letter. There are two things. First, I'm resigning. Second, we're breaking up. Liu Ryan's voice rose sharply. Ji Bacheng, are you crazy? What are you throwing a tantrum about now? Awa is dead. She starved to death. Liu Ryan froze. It took her a long moment before she stammered. I've been so busy with work these past 2 days. I forgot to feed her. Forget it. It's too late to say that now. And so what? Are you breaking up with me over a stupid cat? I chuckled bitterly. Of course. To you, Awa was just a stray cat you picked up, a tool for a prank. What nonsense are you talking about? Liu Ryan's gaze flickered. Isn't that what you told Zijibo yourself? I sneered. Stop pretending. Since you love someone else, let's just break up. I don't agree. Liu Ryan snapped, her face flushed with anger. If we're breaking up, it'll be on my terms. And as for your resignation letter, I won't approve it either. Approval or not is your business. But starting tomorrow, I won't be coming back to the company. And starting now, you're no longer my girlfriend. Ji Bacheng, you bastard. What the hell has gotten into you? I spoke calmly. I'm not losing it. I'm just completely disappointed in this relationship. Disappointed in this relationship. Liu Ryan, you love Zijibo. Don't you? I'm giving you your freedom. From now on, you two can starve together and never be apart. My past tolerance and patience made it hard for Liu Ryan to accept the person I had become. Seeing me walk out, she threw a fit, sweeping all the documents off the table onto the floor. Ji Bacheng, if you dare to leave today, don't ever think about coming back. I will never forgive you. With my back to her, I waved my hand and walked away without a second thought. Just like Chushi said, a relationship without value should be cut off like an appendix. After I resigned from the company, I packed a small bag, bought a plane ticket, and headed to a small island in Southeast Asia. For 10 years, I had been working myself to the bone. Finally, I relaxed, lying under the clear blue sky, basking in the tropical sun, listening to the sound of the waves. There was a blissful sense of indulgence that was hard to resist. But the good times didn't last long. Less than half a month later, someone came looking for me. It was Chushi. Ji Bacheng, I'm sick. I shot up from my beach chair, The last time I heard those words was when my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer. What's wrong? My voice trembled slightly. After all, she was the only family I had left in this world, aside from my biological father. The doctors said my digestive system is failing, and if it progresses, it could turn into colon cancer. How could this happen? You've always been so healthy. My tears started to fall, streaming down my face. Don't be afraid. It hasn't reached that point yet. The doctors just advised me not to overwork and to rest properly. I wiped away my tears. Then stop working and come vacation with me. She shook her head. I can't. The two sons of that old witch have always been eyeing my position. They want to get into the upper echelons of the Chu Corporation. If I step down, the old man will definitely arrange for them to take my place. The Chu Corporation is my grandfather's legacy. I can't let it fall into the hands of outsiders. If it weren't for that, when my parents divorced, I wouldn't have stayed with that old man. But you can't just sacrifice your life either. There's no other choice. Even if it costs me my life, I have to protect my grandfather's legacy. Unless... She paused. You come and help me. I looked at her for a long moment. Are you tricking me? Just to get me back to the Chu Corporation? She pulled out a piece of paper. Here, my medical report. I unfolded it and read it over and over. It was filled with medical terms, and at the bottom, the conclusion was colon polyps, high risk. She explained. My type of polyps are different from the usual ones. They're more dangerous, a precancerous condition. You can look it up on the internet. Sigh, I know you hate the old man. Ever since Mom divorced him, you've refused to see him again. But your sister is fighting them all alone. As long as you're happy, when I meet Mom in the afterlife, I can tell her I did my best. Stop! Sis, don't say any more. I'll go back with you. Really? Are you sure it won't be too much for you? After all these years of taking a break, it's about time I stepped up. Let's work together and drive that old witch and her sons out of the Chu Corporation. All right, we'll kick them all out. I hugged Chushi tightly, feeling the long-lost warmth of family, completely unaware that on the soft sand, she had drawn a large X with her high heels. Chushi and I took the same flight back to the country. The very next day, I took the position of general manager at Chu Consulting. My grandfather had built his empire starting with a consulting and planning firm, making the consulting company a unique entity within the entire group. He only had one daughter, my mother, who had no interest in business, so he groomed his son-in-law to be his successor. But not long after my grandfather passed away, Chu Jingyuan got involved with someone outside the family. My mother couldn't tolerate it and decided to divorce him. During the division of assets, she discovered that the company had become an empty shell, with all the assets transferred to the newly established Chu Corporation. My mother left with me, heartbroken, and passed away a few years later, consumed by grief. No one knows my mother's regrets better than I do. I must personally take the company back. Chushi had prepared everything in advance, and given my reputation in the consulting industry, taking over the company went smoothly. Before she left, she asked me, after everything Liu Ryan did to you, do you want me to help you get even? No, I'll handle my own affairs. We're all in the same line of work. We're bound to cross paths. But you wouldn't hesitate, would you? Do I seem like the type to mix personal matters with business? If I could elevate Liu Corporation to its current position, I can just as easily bring it back down to where it started. Good, that's the brother I know. She left, pleased. On my first day in office, I transferred Manager Chen to my general manager's office. Chen Jewel was overjoyed. Wow, I'm so lucky. I get to work with you again. Gee, I said. Don't celebrate just yet. I have an important task for you. I handed him a list. The list includes key employees from Liu Corporation's planning department. Reach out to these people and see if any of them are willing to come over to Chu Corporation. Offer them double their current salary. No problem. Leave it to me. In fact, during this time, I've still been in contact with some of the people over at Liu Corporation. Many of them are already thinking of jumping ship. Zijibo is a complete outsider. He doesn't understand anything, and he's constantly giving ridiculous orders. Good proposals get torn apart, changed one way today, and another way tomorrow. No one knows what to do, and everyone is full of resentment. I thought Zijibo was only targeting me, but it turns out he's like this with everyone. He's causing chaos, and Liu Ryan hasn't said anything. Zijibo is great at taking credit. Anything good, he claims as his achievement, and anything bad, he blames on others. The most frustrating part is, it's like Liu Ryan's been possessed. She just listens to him. That's good news. I raised an eyebrow. Bring those people over. Form a new department, and you'll be in charge, specifically to compete against Zijibo. Got it. You can count on me for good news. Chen Zhuo was thrilled at the thought of getting back at Zijibo and eagerly went to work. I smiled slightly. Liu Corporation is in deep trouble. As I expected, Zijibo's nonsensical actions have caused widespread discontent within Liu Corporation. The planning department staff were originally people I had recruited from various places. So when they heard I was inviting them to join Shu Corporation and offering double their salaries, more than 10 of them submitted their resignations together. The funniest part is, Zijibo thought the planning department staff were doing this to stand up for me, and were intentionally trying to make things difficult for him. Without even thinking it through, he signed off on all of them. By the time Liu Ryan arrived at the company the next day, those people had already joined Shu Corporation. Liu Ryan stood in the now empty planning department, a bit stunned. You let everyone go. How is the company supposed to take on new projects? Brimming with confidence, said, those who resigned were all Ji Bacheng's loyal followers. Since he left, they wouldn't have worked properly anyway. It's better to let them go and hire new employees. Liu Ryan didn't say anything, but after work that day, he came to Shu Corporation to confront me. Ji Bacheng, what exactly is your relationship with Chushi? Liu Ryan, what are you trying to say? Are you implying that before we broke up, I was already involved with her? I sneered. Do you think everyone is like you and Zijibo? Isn't that the case? Liu Ryan grabbed my wrist, her long nails digging into my flesh. You resigned from Liu Corporation, and immediately, Chushi handed you the general manager position. You even helped her poach Liu Corporation's employees. Do you dare say there was nothing between you two before? Zijibo is single. He has the right to pursue whoever he likes. And what about you? While being with me, you were clinging to Shu Corporation's coattails. You're the real scumbag here. You're not even worthy to lick Zijibo's boots. Liu Ryan, is that how you see me? My wrist ached from her grip, but the pain in my chest was far worse. She was my first love. We had been together for 10 years, and I had loved her with all my heart. When Liu Corporation was on the brink of bankruptcy, Zijibo abandoned her and disappeared for 10 years. She never said a bad word about him. I stood by her through thick and thin, helping to save the company from collapse. Yet she repaid me with harsh words. This is the woman I once thought I could spend my life with. I asked, do you know what my name was before I turned 7? Liu Ryan was stunned, not understanding what I was getting at. When I was 7, my parents divorced, and I took my mother's surname. Before that, my name was Chuli. I am Chushi's younger brother. Now, do you understand? Liu Ryan looked as if she had been struck by lightning. Her face turned deathly pale in an instant. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't mean what I said just now. It was all in the heat of the moment. But I meant every word. Liu Ryan, thank you for severing the last bit of affection I had for you. Panic flickered across Liu Ryan's face. Ji Bacheng, I admit I was wrong to accuse you, but there's really nothing between me and Zijibo. You made him the general manager. taking over my position in the company. You let him hold you by the waist, attending public events together. When I had an appendicitis attack, you hung up on my call for help to take care of his sprained ankle. If that's not love, then what is? Stop lying to yourself. You've already made your choice between him and me. Liu Ryan lowered herself, pleading, Ji Bacheng, I admit I didn't do well enough. But please come back. Liu Corporation can't survive without you. Go back. You want me to return, so I can keep watching you and Zijibo being affectionate. I looked at her and said calmly, Liu Ryan, we've already broken up. From now on, we're just strangers now, no matter what we once were. Zijibo kept his word, hiring a batch of planning staff at salaries below the market rate. Soon, due to a major project, Chu Corporation and Liu Corporation faced off directly. I assigned the project to Chenjuo. I'm giving you a chance to take on Zijibo head-to-head. Don't let me down. Thank you, Jinayan, Chenjuo said, rolling up his sleeves. I'll make sure to rub his face in the dirt. Again and again. Chenjuo had been the planning department manager for 5 years. He was more than capable of handling this. He led the team of planners who had come over from Liu Corporation, and within a week, they had completed an entire proposal. On the day of the bidding, Chenjuo and I ran into Liu Ryan and Zijibo. There were 4 or 5 companies competing that day, but the most likely contenders were Chu Corporation and Liu Corporation. The order was decided by drawing lots, and Chu Corporation went first. Chenjuo spoke eloquently. The proposal was detailed, and the data was solid. When the other side's representatives asked questions, Chenjuo answered them fluently. Then it was Liu Corporation's turn. Zijibo stepped up, but after just a few sentences, I couldn't help but laugh. There's a saying that goes, you can tell a true master from their first move. Zijibo's proposal seemed to be cobbled together from old planning documents, with some online data thrown in to fill the gaps. And then he presented it as if it were ready to go. He probably knew he was on shaky ground, as he kept glancing at the female representative from the bidding committee, flashing his trademark smile. I couldn't hold back my amusement. In a setting like this, trying to use his looks, it was typical of him. Liu Ryan, who was by his side, looked more displeased. The bidding results came out, and as expected, Chu Corporation secured the big contract. Chenjuo came to me beaming with pride. Jinayan, how was that for a victory? Brilliant. Keep up the good work. Got it. You can count on it. The industry is small, and over the next few months, Chu Corporation and Liu Corporation crossed paths frequently. Chenjuo gave it his all, and every time, he thoroughly crushed Zijibo. Finally, Liu Ryan couldn't take it anymore, and came to see me again. Ji Bacheng, you're the one who built Liu Corporation into what it is today. Do you really want to see it fall? I replied coolly. What are you trying to say? You know Zijibo's abilities are limited, so why do you keep targeting him? We're in the same industry. Competing for business is inevitable. Everyone relies on their own skills. Ji Bacheng, even if we've broken up, you still own 10% of Liu Corporation's shares. Can you really stand by and watch it go bankrupt? Now that you mention it, I had almost forgotten. Back when Liu Corporation was about to go under, many shareholders were selling off their shares. I borrowed money to buy them up. To stabilize the situation, I gave her 2 options. Either you buy my shares at market value, or Ji Bacheng, do you really have to do this? Liu Ryan said anxiously. Let's not mix personal matters with business. You've always been very professional. Exactly. That's why I'm talking to you about business now. I shrug. Ever since you hired Zijibo as general manager, the company's business has been in steady decline. For my own financial interests, I don't want to continue holding shares in Liu Corporation, but I don't have that much cash on hand. In that case, but your controlling interest may not be secure anymore. Liu Ryan was the largest shareholder, holding 45% of the shares. I held 10%, and the remaining 45% of the shares were scattered among other shareholders. If she lost control, Liu Corporation would no longer be under her command, and her position as chairwoman would be at risk. Ji Bacheng, I don't believe you would go this far against me. Then just wait and see. I contacted various interested buyers, discussing the sale of my Liu Corporation shares. It caused quite a stir, and soon everyone in the industry knew, fearing that Liu Ryan would lose her controlling interest, and that he would lose his position as general manager. Zijibo urged Liu Ryan to use all of the company's liquid assets, and even mortgage the villa they were living in, just to scrape together enough money to buy back my shares. From that point on, I severed all ties with Liu Corporation and with Liu Ryan. After joining Chu Corporation, I realized that the rapid growth of Liu Corporation in recent years had a lot to do with Chu Ji's concessions. The consulting company had been founded single-handedly by our grandfather, and after Chu Ji took over, she implemented an iron-fisted policy, revamping the entire internal structure, with the middle and upper management composed of her trusted allies. Externally, she expanded the business and secured a place in the international market. Few domestic consulting firms could compete with Chu Corporation. Only when facing Liu Corporation would Chu Corporation step aside, giving Liu Corporation a chance to rise. But now, with me at the helm of Chu Consulting, Liu Corporation wouldn't have it so easy anymore. I divided the planning department into 2 units. The original planning department of Chu Corporation focused mainly on high-end clients. The group of Liu Corporation employees led by Chen Zhuo formed a new department, specializing in the mid to low-end market. Chen Zhuo, that guy, never misses a chance to share some gossip with me. Whenever he reports on his work, I heard he said that Liu Ryan recently hired a new planning director from abroad. Because of this, Zijibo has been throwing a fit at the office every day, turning Liu Corporation into a marketplace. The new planning director at Liu Corporation has already been driven away by Zijibo. The current proposals from Liu Corporation are unbearable to look at, and their reputation in the industry is getting worse and worse. I also heard Liu Ryan's villa has been repossessed by the bank, and she's now renting a place to live. Last night, Liu Ryan and Zijibo had another fight, and when she came to work today, she had dark circles under her eyes. I asked Chen Zhuo, did you install surveillance at Liu Corporation? How do you know every little detail? Chen Zhuo laughed. The work group for the planning department has turned into a chat group. The fuel timers still at Liu Corporation complain in there every day. Oh, is that so? I smiled and looked out the window at the falling leaves and threw out a saying. The weather's cooling down. It's time for Liu Corporation to go bankrupt. The latest financial report shows Liu Corporation's revenue has plummeted, with losses in the tens of millions. The stock price has dropped accordingly, and shareholders are scrambling to sell and run. After more than 10 consecutive trading halts, Liu Corporation is facing delisting. The same scene from 10 years ago is repeating itself. 1-9-4. That Liu Corporation is running out of funds. Liu Ryan had no idea how to cope. In the past, I was the one who carried the burden for her. But now, there was no one left to help her. Liu Ryan started thinking of me again. She waited outside the company for half a month and finally managed to stop my car. Ji Bacheng, Liu Corporation is about to go bankrupt. Please help me. Zijibo is the general manager of Liu Corporation. You should discuss it with him. She broke down in tears. That coward. The moment things turned bad, he bought a ticket and fled the country overnight. Oh, I can't even get in touch with him. Is that so? Through the car window, I looked at her gently. Ryan, this was your choice. You have to accept the consequences. Ji Bacheng, you can't be so heartless. She clung to the window, sobbing miserably. I know I was wrong, so terribly wrong. Please forgive me this once, Ji Bacheng. Without you, neither I nor Liu Corporation can survive. Sorry, I'm very busy, and I don't have time to help you. If you're truly out of options, don't force yourself. The bodyguard stepped up and pulled her to the side. The car drove away, and in the rearview mirror, I saw Liu Ryan collapse onto the ground. She seemed unable to believe that I could say such heartless words. But I wasn't lying to her. I really was very busy. Chu Shi, taking advantage of the old man's illness and hospitalization, had taken control of the entire Chu Corporation. She was conducting a massive internal purge, filling key positions with her own people. The old witch and her two sons were desperate, launching a frenzied counterattack. But Chu Shi had set a trap, obtaining evidence of their embezzlement. She presented it to the old man. In his younger years, the old man had been a playboy, but as he grew older, he began to value bloodline and legacy, especially after seeing me return to Chu Corporation. He no longer cared about his two stepsons. Chu Shi persuaded him to step down as chairman and transferred most of the company's shares to our names. As her first act as chairwoman, she sent the old man abroad. After returning from the airport, she kicked the old witch and her sons out of the house. The old witch was furious, cursing Chu Shi for being ungrateful and threatening to find the old man. Chu Shi sneered, "I've put him in a nursing home in Northern Europe. If you don't mind the cold, go ahead and find him. But even if you do find him, it won't matter. The shares are all in mine and Ji Bacheng's hands. If he dares to complain, I'll even stop paying his nursing home fees." The old witch was defiant, scheming with her two sons to kidnap Chu Shi, but we were well prepared and set a trap for them, sending the mother and sons to prison to sew garments. 6 months later, Chu Corporation was renamed Ji Corporation on Qingming Festival. Chu Shi and I, or rather, she's now renamed Ji Shi, went together to visit the graves. She placed fresh flowers, while I laid out the offerings. Grandfather, grandmother, little Li and I have come to see you. We've taken back the company, and the current Ji Corporation, under my sister's leadership, is thriving. You can rest easy now. As I said this, I turned to look at Ji Shi. Sis, you haven't had a proper rest in a while. Let's go to the hospital for a checkup soon. Ji Shi paused for a moment. A checkup for what? For your colon polyps, she casually said. I had them removed right after the diagnosis. It's already been taken care of. But you said they were precancerous polyps. Very dangerous. I stared at her. You actually lied to me, making me worrying for so long. Oh, little brother, if I hadn't lied, would you have come back to Chu Corporation? She reached out and put her arm around my shoulder. Sis isn't sick. You should be happy about that. But you, hey, mom's watching, you know. If you get mad at me in front of her, she won't be at peace down there. Fine, you win. I also put my arm around her shoulder, smiling as I said, Mom, look, big sis is bullying me, but I'm not even angry. We siblings are as close as ever. Under our joint efforts, Ji Corporation grew rapidly, reaching new heights. One day, a client invited me to discuss business at a high-end bar. I never expected to run into Liu Ryan there. To lighten the mood, the client had brought a few hostesses, and she was one of them. When she saw me, her eyes instantly reddened, but she didn't dare cry. Forcing a smile, she drank with those people, glass after glass. When the night ended and everyone else had left, I was the last to leave. Liu Ryan grabbed my sleeve, refusing to let go. Ji Bacheng, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. She knelt in front of me, crying her heart out. You used to love me so much. Every time I made a mistake, you couldn't bear to scold me. I've suffered. I've been punished. I know now that in the whole world, you're the only man who truly loves me, who's sincere with me. From now on, I'll be a good wife and love you for the rest of my life. It's too late. I lightly brushed off the dust from my shoes. Liu Ryan, you no longer have the right to tell me you love me. Amid her heart-wrenching sobs, I stood up and left the bar, leaving her world behind. The end.